Today, we're kicking things off with the latest UFC updates as we officially enter Fight Week territory for UFC 324. With the event just days away, momentum is finally building again across the MMA world. Before we dive in, make sure to show some support by liking the video. It really helps the channel continue bringing you the latest news and updates. One of the biggest developments comes from Arman Tsarukyan, who appears to be officially entering training camp. Late last night, Tsarukyan posted an Instagram story featuring none other than former UFC flyweight champion Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Alongside the photo, Arman wrote, "From the jet to the gym with the GOAT. Camp starts now." The post immediately sparked speculation among fans and analysts, suggesting that Tsarukyan is gearing up for a major fight announcement in the near future. At this moment, however, the identity of his next opponent remains unclear. The lightweight division is currently in a complicated position. Tsarukyan has already defeated the number 6 ranked contender, and fighters ranked from number 2 through number 5 are either booked or already committed to upcoming matchups. This leaves the UFC with limited options as they attempt to position Arman for his next step toward title contention. Given his recent performances and rising momentum, it will be interesting to see how the UFC decides to move forward. Whether that means an unexpected matchup, a short notice opportunity, or a high-stakes contender bout, all signs point to Tsarukyan preparing for something significant. As training camp begins, anticipation continues to grow around what's next for one of the most dangerous contenders in the lightweight division. Magomed Ankalaev has officially broken his silence, and the MMA community has taken notice. In recent weeks, fans pointed out that Ankalaev had been unusually quiet following his loss to Alex Pereira. Prior to that fight, Magomed was extremely active on social media, frequently posting on X and calling out potential opponents across the light heavyweight division. However, after the defeat, his online presence went completely silent, which led many fans to speculate about what might be going on behind the scenes. Those comments appear to have reached either Ankalaev himself or his manager, Ali Abdelaziz. Just days after the discussion started gaining traction, Magomed returned to social media with a brief but direct message, posting, "I'm back. Who do you guys want to see me fight next?" The post immediately generated heavy engagement, with fans flooding the replies. As expected, many of the responses were less about potential matchups and more about humor, with a large portion of the MMA community joking that the post was likely written by Ali Abdelaziz rather than Ankalaev himself. Still, the message made one thing clear: Ankalaev is ready to move forward and reinsert himself into the conversation. That said, it does not appear that the UFC has any immediate interest in booking a trilogy fight between Ankalaev and Pereira. With the light heavyweight division continuing to shift and new contenders emerging, Magomed may be forced to take a different path back toward title contention. Now the question becomes, who makes the most sense as his next opponent? There are several intriguing matchups available that could help Ankalaev rebuild momentum and re-establish himself as a top threat in the division. Let us know who you think Magomed should fight next in the UFC by dropping your thoughts in the comments. The UFC news cycle continues with a major update involving Mohammed Usman, the younger brother of former UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Back in October, reports surfaced that Usman had been forced out of his scheduled bout at UFC Rio after testing positive for elevated testosterone levels. Now, the situation has reached an official conclusion. Combat Sports Anti-Doping, CSA, has confirmed that Mohammed Usman has accepted a suspension lasting 2 years and 6 months. According to the agency, Usman was found to have violated the UFC's anti-doping policy following an out-of-competition sample collected on September 8, 2025, in Coral Springs, Florida. The test returned positive for testosterone, a substance that is prohibited at all times under the anabolic agents category on the UFC's banned substances list. CSAD also revealed that Usman engaged in deceptive and obstructive conduct during the investigation process. While he ultimately accepted responsibility for the violation, the agency stated that he did not do so in a timely manner. It was only after CSAT confronted him with independently gathered evidence from a detailed investigation that Usman admitted to the use of multiple prohibited substances and to providing a false explanation in an attempt to mislead investigators. Usman's suspension officially began on October 9, 2025, the day he was notified of the positive test result, removed from the UFC Rio card, and provisionally suspended. The suspension is set to conclude on April 9, 2028. While aggravating circumstances can result in a suspension being doubled, CSAD determined that a 6-month extension beyond the standard 2-year ban was appropriate due to Usman's eventual admission of wrongdoing. This case raises a larger question within the MMA community. Should fighters who test positive for banned substances be automatically released from the UFC roster, or should there be room for redemption after serving their suspension? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Speculation around a potential super fight between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev is heating up after comments from former bantamweight champion Merab Dvalishvili sparked fresh discussion within the MMA community. For months, fans have debated whether his elite striking could pose a real threat to Makhachev's dominant grappling-based reign. Now, it appears that matchup may be closer than expected. During a recent interview, Merab was asked to build his ideal UFC fight card. Without hesitation, he named Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev as the headline bout. When pressed on whether he believed the fight would actually happen, Merab hinted that he had insider knowledge, stating that he knew certain details from Topuria and that the fight could take place much sooner than people expect. Dana White has previously suggested that fans want to see the winner of Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett face Topuria next. But he also made it clear that nothing is set in stone and that the situation will play out over time. If Pimblett wins, the UFC may push for a matchup between him and Topuria. However, if Gaethje emerges victorious, there is speculation that Topuria could vacate his belt, move up in weight, and challenge Makhachev at welterweight. That scenario could potentially open the door for Gaethje to face Max Holloway at a White House event for both the vacant lightweight title and the BMF belt. However, a source close to Topuria has pushed back on that idea, stating that the UFC has no plans to strip him of his title and is willing to give him all the time necessary. If needed, the promotion would opt for an interim title rather than forcing Topuria's hand, citing their confidence in his growing star power. Merab also spoke highly of Topuria's abilities, saying that after training with him, he believes Topuria has a legitimate chance to defeat Makhachev, even at welterweight. He described Topuria as a rare athlete with exceptional power, technique, and well-rounded skills across striking, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. Meanwhile, Dana White praised Merab himself for being one of the most reliable and active fighters on the roster. Although Merab has yet to book his next fight, he may be waiting on a rematch with Petr Yan. Still, the UFC could be keeping options open depending on upcoming results and the need for major stars at the White House event. Should Merab receive an immediate rematch after multiple title defenses, or should the UFC prioritize a bigger-name matchup? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Conor McGregor has reacted following Dana White's recent comments, seemingly shutting down a potential fight between McGregor and Michael Chandler. In a surprise interview, Dana White stated that the matchup is no longer being considered for the UFC White House event, describing the fight as old news and suggesting that it has lost relevance. While many fans agree that the bout has been discussed for a long time, it is difficult not to sympathize with Michael Chandler. Chandler has waited patiently for a McGregor fight, which would represent the biggest payday of his career. Over the past 2 years, he has consistently called out McGregor, stayed active in the public eye, and positioned himself as the most willing and available opponent. Until recently, it appeared that McGregor was still interested, even mocking Chandler just days ago while simultaneously calling out Floyd Mayweather. Shortly after Dana White's comments surfaced, McGregor responded with a now-deleted post on social media. In the message, McGregor wrote a cryptic line that many interpreted as a direct reaction to Dana's interview, suggesting that he remains confident and unfazed by the situation. The deleted post only added fuel to the speculation surrounding his future. It is also worth noting that Dana White has a long history of publicly denying or downplaying fights before officially announcing them. White has already stated that matchmaking for the White House card will begin after UFC 325, which takes place on January 31st. If that timeline holds, fans can expect major fight announcements to start rolling out in February. Whether the McGregor versus Chandler fight actually comes together remains to be seen. Publicly, Dana White appears to be downplaying interest, but the reality is that many fans still want to see McGregor return to the octagon at least one more time before he retires. Chandler, with his aggressive style, name recognition, and current UFC record, remains one of the most logical and marketable opponents. What do you think about this situation? Is McGregor versus Chandler truly outdated, or does the fight still make sense? And if McGregor does return, who should he face next? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. With UFC 324 just days away, fighters have begun arriving in Las Vegas to wrap up their final preparations, and tensions are continuing to rise. During an open workout earlier this week, Pimblett addressed the media and delivered a strong warning to his upcoming opponent, Justin Gaethje, specifically regarding his striking. Speaking confidently, Pimblett once again doubled down on his belief that he will knock Gaethje out on fight night. He made it clear that his game plan does not involve shooting for takedowns, as he intends to keep the fight standing and trade on the feet. However, Pimblett added that if the bout does end up on the ground, he is fully confident in his ability to control and out-wrestle Gaethje. According to Pimblett, once the fight hits the mat, Gaethje will struggle to return to his feet. While acknowledging Gaethje's scrambling ability and wrestling background, Paddy believes those skills are often overstated, while his own grappling is consistently underestimated. He pointed to previous fights as proof, reminding critics that many doubted his ability to take Michael Chandler down, something he ultimately accomplished in dominant fashion. Pimblett also pushed back against the narrative that this matchup is a classic striker versus grappler clash. He argued that while there may be a significant gap when it comes to grappling credentials, the difference in striking is far smaller than most fans believe. Pimblett described himself as a true mixed martial arts striker, emphasizing his ability to blend boxing, leg kicks, and overall fight IQ rather than relying on a single discipline. He concluded by stating that many expect Gaethje to pick him apart on the feet, but he is determined to prove otherwise. On fight night, Pimblett plans to show the difference between a traditional striker and a complete MMA striker, confident that his skill set will surprise both his opponent and the audience. Pimblett also addressed the ongoing conversation surrounding a potential fight with Arman Tsarukyan, pushing back strongly against claims that he has been avoiding the matchup. During a recent interview, Pimblett expressed frustration with fans who continue to accuse him of ducking Tsarukyan, insisting that the fight has never actually been offered to him by the UFC. According to Pimblett, the criticism has become increasingly annoying as he believes it is based on misinformation. He stated that if he had ever been offered a bout against Tsarukyan, he would have accepted it immediately. Pimblett made it clear that he has no hesitation about fighting Arman and claimed he would welcome the matchup without hesitation. He added that Tsarukyan irritates him and that he would be more than willing to settle things inside the octagon. Pimblett also turned his attention to the state of the division, suggesting that if Ilia Topuria is unable to return by July, the UFC should consider stripping the title, arguing that prolonged inactivity slows the division down. He said he is willing to defend against any top contender, including Tsarukyan, Max Holloway, or Charles Oliveira, emphasizing that he is not picky about opponents. In a separate interview with Main Event TV, Pimblett doubled down on his criticism of Tsarukyan, claiming that Arman's grappling is overrated. He said he hopes to eventually face Tsarukyan so he can silence the ongoing talk and prove that the hype surrounding his grappling skills is exaggerated. Pimblett questioned Tsarukyan's submission ability, pointing to past performances where he failed to finish opponents who are primarily strikers. Pimblett also revealed that prior to watching one of Tsarukyan's recent fights, he believed Arman might present a tougher stylistic challenge than Ilia Topuria. However, after seeing that performance, he changed his opinion, stating that Topuria would be a significantly more difficult matchup. With tensions rising and words continuing to be exchanged, the possibility of Pimblett versus Tsarukyan remains one of the most talked about potential matchups in the division. Whether or not the UFC decides to make it happen, the rivalry continues to build. Nick Diaz has been making positive headlines once again, as the MMA legend continues to turn his life around following a difficult period. Recently, Diaz celebrated 1 full year of sobriety after completing a stint in rehab, marking a major personal milestone. Adding to the positive news, it appears that Diaz has also tied the knot with his longtime girlfriend, Kayla. A short clip circulating online shows the two together, sparking congratulations from fans across the MMA community. In addition to the personal celebrations, Nick Diaz also met up with former UFC middleweight champion Sean Strickland for the first time. The meeting quickly gained attention after Strickland shared his reaction publicly. In the comments, Strickland expressed genuine admiration for Diaz, recalling how he grew up watching him fight in Strikeforce. Strickland described Diaz as a true legend and made it clear that he has always been a fan, not a rival. During their interaction, the mutual respect between the two fighters was evident. Strickland spoke about how surreal it felt to finally meet someone he watched as a kid, joking about sitting in his living room in boxer shorts while watching Diaz compete. Diaz appeared appreciative of the respect, and the two shared a lighthearted exchange, discussing training, fighting, and the mentality that has defined the Diaz brothers throughout their careers. Strickland also commented on the Diaz brothers' reputation for always being ready to fight, noting their intensity and toughness. Despite the jokes, the tone remained positive, with both fighters clearly enjoying the moment and acknowledging each other's contributions to the sport. Strickland even hinted at the possibility of training together in the future, calling the experience surreal. Overall, the meeting symbolized a full-circle moment for Strickland and served as another encouraging chapter in Nick Diaz's ongoing comeback story. From celebrating sobriety to starting a new chapter in his personal life, Diaz continues to receive widespread support from fans and fellow fighters alike. That wraps up today's update. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest MMA news and stories.